Hey everyone, welcome back to the Working Moms Lab. Have you ever wondered these questions? Is the next job opportunity worth working late and missing family time again? And if I hit pause on my career, will there still be a seat waiting when I press play? I invited my colleague Anna, executive assistant, mom to a busy toddler, and the glue that holds two senior VPs and the rest of the team together. She is someone who defines her own role and success. After climbing the corporate ladders early on, Anna chose her current role on purpose because it lets her make the moments that matter. Today, she shares how intentional choices, not labels, give her real agency at work and at home. Let's dive in.
So, hi, Anna.
Well, first off, thank you for having me. All the words you just said are so kind, and I'm very thankful. I'm usually one to shine a light on others, so it's really hard to reflect it back to me, and this means a lot. For starters, I'm American born. My parents were born in Portugal. Both of them came over actually by themselves, and they met here. I've been working in media for 7 years, and about a year ago, I gained my favorite title, which is mom.
Wow.
So I'm excited to be here and grateful for your space, and let's get the show on the road.
I'm just curious, how did you first get into media?
Yeah, so I've been interested in media since I was young. In high school, I was part of the media club. I was on the TV every morning giving the news. And then I studied abroad in Florence, where I was actually on camera. And I learned I did not like that. So I wanted to be behind the camera. All my friends will tell you I like to make videos out of every project I work on. So I did tell myself one day that I would work for NBC Universal. And that came from a trip that I did to the city with one of my old professors. And there's something about NBC just always clicked. My father, who has passed already, had connects actually at NBC, and he was always like, I'm going to get you in. We're going to figure it out. And then one year I took a Euro trip, and I met someone on that Euro trip who was actually also looking for a job. And she ended up landing at NBC a few years after our Euro trip, and she remembered that I always wanted to work here. So that's how I got into this media space in particular. She brought me in, helped me get the foot in the door and mentored me early on, which I'm forever grateful for. And then I got into ad ops on the linear side. That's where I started. And from linear, digital was like where everyone was jumping to. So I kind of took a leap of faith and went into digital. So I do know the business, which is what makes me such a skillful EA, because I'm not just a calendar or trips person. I actually do understand the business, so I can sit with my bosses or the SVPs and EVPs that I've supported and help guide them in their decisions, which then helps with the calendar, because then I can be like, well, this meeting might be important, but this one you can wait for a second. So that's how I got into this media space.
And how was it like for you to take a career break as you became a mom? And then you kind of pivot your career from previously you were a manager at operations and now become as EA. Can you share some insights there?
Yeah, so my career path was obviously not one way. I went into linear ops, went into digital ops, became an EA, became a manager, and I took a career break because life just made it happen. It wasn't my decision, but it was the best timing to have a career break. So I'm so happy the universe worked in that way. And it allowed me to fully immerse in being a mom, right? So before jumping into a permanent role, I'm always on the strategy side. So I'm always thinking ahead. I knew I wasn't just taking a role. I was taking something that was going to now be a part of my everyday life. And I did take a couple of contract works to not fully remove myself from the workplace, but also to be flexible while I was on maternity leave / after I got laid off. And then how it really came together is that I used to ask myself going into the workplace, what do I want to do? What do I see myself in for the next 10 or 20 years? And what makes me happy in the workplace? My mind completely shifted when I became a mom. My questions became, what kind of mom do I want to be? So at 5 p.m. when that computer turns off, do I want to be the mom who's still looking at her phone while my child's trying to play with me? Or do I want to be the mom who's like, my job's done, I can be a mom now. Do I want to be a mom who's disconnected on the weekends, or do I want to be a mom who's fully still immersed on the weekends? And look, there's no right or wrong answer. I admire women that are in big leadership positions. They obviously have to make different decisions than myself. They might have extra care. They might have a nanny, whatever the case may be. It's nice to have a mom who's maybe taking a call from a hotel room while you're in Bora Bora living your best life because that's her work trip. So there are a lot of different ways to show up and be a mom. In my particular situation, I know I have time to be that corporate CEO one day. But in this present stage, I want to be a present mom who knows her job is done from 9 to 5, and that's it.
Wow.
I know.
I am blown up right now because I never asked myself that question, and I'm already a mom of two. I wish I knew you when like 5 years ago, because sometimes situations happen
Right.
and our mindset, or at least me, sometimes is like we passively just accept it. For example, COVID hit. I didn't have any help from family or friends or nanny,
Wow.
so I had to work full time and sit home at the same time and just figure it out with my husband. And sometimes I have this vent or unsatisfaction.
Right.
But when I hear you say that, what mom I want to become after work, that is a really powerful question, because then you can intentionally design the work around what you want to create in your home. I am curious, how did you have that mindset? Was it something you learned from your mom, your friends, or like before you became a mom? Have you ever think about that?
So it's funny. I actually didn't want to be a mom, and I'm very thankful God blessed me with my baby. He's just the best. But motherhood wasn't for me, at least back in the day, because I always thought you had to pick between either being a mom or having a career. And there are people that I've spoken to who said, hey, I never actually considered being a mom because I was so focused in my career. I'm now 40 years old. I don't have anyone by my side. I have a great title, but guess what? I just got laid off, and now my title also doesn't exist. So now not only do I not have a job, but I don't have a family. So I think, again, the universe worked in a way that I wasn't expecting, so I'm very thankful for it. I'm the type of person that when something happens, I take it for that what it is. So I never really planned ahead and thought I was going to have to ask myself that question. I think when everything happened, I was scared. I was in denial for a very long time. My bosses were all men, so it was also like that. How do I explain to them that I'm pregnant? I had just actually quit NBC and started a new job. And I quit on a Friday. I found out that following Monday that I was pregnant. And I was like, how do I go into a new role? How do I do all of this? But I also knew I was going to figure it out. And that's exactly what I did. And so going back to that question of, did I ever ask myself that question? No, I didn't. But then once it was real and it was a reality, it was like, okay, well, pause. I see all these women working so hard, but when they go home, do they smile? When they go home, are they happy with their husbands, or are they resentful, or all of the above? And I didn't want that to be part of my story. I wanted to go home, be happy with my husband. And look, my husband will call it out as it is. He's told me so many times, he's like, you have to leave your work at work because you're coming home and you're stressed. Because I'm just the type of person who gives my heart into everything that I do. So I knew this role had to be something that didn't break me, in a sense that I could go home and disconnect and be like, it's okay, tomorrow's another day and we'll figure it out. So that meant I couldn't be a manager, because if I were a manager again and I had to lead people, how do I leave that at work? People come with problems, and personal and work problems, and that's just part of the business, and you can't really change that. So you need to be able to be that support system if you're going to be a manager. And I knew that I couldn't do that because I had to be a manager at home. I had to manage my kid, my husband. So no, that question never came up, but I think it's been my guiding light through all of this. It's been every day it's the same question I ask myself. And then to add to that, my husband and I have implemented a question amongst ourselves, which is, how do you feel today? Is there anything you need from me? And we usually do it on Friday. So I actually asked him this morning, and he said to me, he's like, I feel great because I think we all woke up happy today. And that's what I want. I want us to all be happy, but to be happy, you need to be able to also disconnect from work sometimes.
Right. And check in with your loved ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And you mentioned you experienced a layoff, and then that gave you the perfect time to bond with your newborn and ease into this new role. But I wonder if at one moment you were like questioning about your identity, and because you were literally like a stay-at-home mom, right? And was that ever bothering you?
So yes, I can't say it didn't bother me. In the beginning, it was very hard, especially that newborn stage. It's just like there is no separation. You are one with the newborn. And I chose to breastfeed, which was unique for me because my mom did not breastfeed. She couldn't really give me advice on that. And I remember there was one day she got home and I never cry. I don't know why. It's just a thing we don't do. So my mom got home one day during that newborn stage, and I remember I was just laying in my bed. I didn't want to talk to anyone, and my husband said to her, he's like, so my mom and I live in the same household. She just lives in a different apartment. So she was checking in, and she goes, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "Don't talk to her. We just got to watch the baby." And my mom got so mad, and she's like, "Why are you so upset?" And I was upset because I didn't feel like I had that identity, right? I'm like, what do you mean, why am I upset? I'm not my own human. My body's giving out all these things that this human needs. I don't have a job, which was natural because it was actually during my maternity leave, so I wasn't going to have a job anyways. But I was just so frustrated. And she was like, "That's fine. Have it out, cry it out, do whatever you have to do. But how do we fix this? Do you need an invite on your calendar with like a mentor to make yourself feel better? Do you need to take a walk? Do you need to go into the city for the day?" So I started actually thinking, like, what makes me feel like myself? Yes, going into the city for a day actually helped. So I would find colleagues that I'm still connected to and just be like, "Hey, let's grab coffee." So I would take a day. That was called like my self-care day, when my husband would just watch the baby and I can just go into the city and like put on my heels and feel strong again. So that's part of how I dealt with that. And then as the baby started to grow and develop, and as a mom, they start creating their own little personality. So that was very motivating because I'm like, I'm now contributing to his personality. So I was getting a lot of messages. I love to post my son, and I would get messages like, he's always happy, he's always laughing. And that started to be like a aha moment. Okay, I'm not in the workplace. I'm not stressed. So because I'm not stressed, I'm laughing, and my son's seeing that. So he's mimicking me. So now he's always laughing and always happy. So that started being like a kind of putting him before myself moment. But in the midst of that, also making myself happy, because when I saw him happy, then I was automatically happy. So it's all like a butterfly effect, really.
Right.
And yes, I did start getting my like personality back once he was 6 months, because I started immersing myself in conferences, which you and I have talked about before. Doing the contract work, a lot of the teams I was doing contract work for were from different states, different countries. So I went to the NAB, and that was right out of my maternity leave. They had just like officially laid me off because I knew about it in January, but I only got laid off in April. So at NAB, that's where I rekindled with my NBCU folks. I also met people from Operative, Wide Orbit, companies that I had always heard of and we used at NBC or still use at NBC, but I never actually met the CEOs of these companies or the people that go to these conferences. So that was one stepping stone. And then one that really changed my life was going to Amsterdam I always mess this up. I want to say it's called IBC. It's a big conference in the tech world also. And in Amsterdam, I realized how laid back everyone is. So the culture, then I started deep diving into like, okay, so I want to be a cool mom. I want to be a happy mom. But they're also in Europe, they get the same work done with coffee breaks and with lunch breaks. And like, how do we implement that in America, right? We're always like going 100 miles per hour here, but other countries figure it out, and there's corporate moms in other countries and they're getting their self-care time. So how do I then also shift my mind to bring that back to my workplace and how I do business?
Yeah, I want to mention one thing, because early on you mentioned you've seen other women leaders, VPs, SVPs, right? And now you're going to conferences, even during your quiet period or maternity leave. Like, I wonder if you intentionally build those exposures, or, you just like keep going to broaden your horizon. Because I think a lot of times people don't know these are options. These possibilities exist. And I really appreciate you. Sometimes you go on your own terms, or you pay your own flight and trip, but you put yourself out there to even go abroad to attend these conferences.
Right.
Is this something like you are used to do? Or like, when did you start doing these?
No, I think life just made me have to do it, right? Coming back into the workplace, you have to educate yourself again. And with the international one, that was actually paid for through my contract work. But I did go recently to Possible, which could have been paid for by the company, but the realm of work that I'm in obviously does not get that type of support. So I had to choose to go on my own. And with Possible, there were a few things that were very life-changing. So one, there was a group of women that are now called Advanced Women. I met them during my contract work. They weren't a big official company yet, or group, I should say, yet. They did an event back in March in New York, and then they showed up at Possible. And showing up made them flourish so much. And that's when you get that one advice in life where it's like, just show up. They showed up, and 67 executive women showed up to a brunch with them. That's 67 women that are also looking to advance their career, talking in a space where you're literally just getting so many ideas from everyone. So yes, you could have breakfast with women in New York, but showing up in Miami where there's sun, it's nice, everyone's in a great mood, it's a conference, the vibe is totally different. Mm-hmm. Right. So Possible was one of those events where I paid for myself because I was investing in my career. And, people invest all the time in a degree, for example. They go back to school. Think about conferences the same way. If you know what you want to do, and if you know your career, at least in the midst of, I know I want to be in ad tech, then I need to immerse myself in real life situations where ad tech is big and dominant. And that's the conferences that I've been attending, right? Yeah, I could go back to school and learn skills, but there's a difference between skills and then networking. And networking will always get you to that next step. Skills will too, but if the person who's hiring doesn't know you have those skills because you didn't network with them, skills are just a piece of paper.
Right, you build that personal connection first.
Exactly.
And I want to mention that you did not let those imposter syndrome hold you back, or maybe that word doesn't even exist in your dictionary. I didn't feel that at all in you. To these people, or even to me personally, right? Because when I think about these conferences, I'm like, okay, I'm not at the level that company want to sponsor me. What would you say?
So there's so many things running through my mind about this. Everyone's welcome to these conferences, right? And you're right. The CEO of the biggest companies might not want to talk to me. But they're the CEOs today. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the CEO tomorrow. The people that are in the room with me today are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. Your role today might be EA. Tomorrow it could be SVP of Ad Ops at NBC Universal. You don't know. And I've seen so many people climb the ladder already that we're just at the beginning of how much my network will actually thrive to be, right? So yes, when you're in an executive level, you're going to these events to meet with other executives, have these conversations, but there's also power in going to these conferences without being at the executive level, because guess what? I'm on my own schedule. So while my executives are running around trying to get to 16 meetings, I kid you not, I met with someone at Possible who told me they had scheduled 16 meetings in one day. I had 3 meetings booked at Possible with people who just wanted to catch up. And throughout all those conversations, I've landed like 5 conversations back at home for projects that I want to work on the side and that are on like my bucket of goals. So I see going to those conferences as an investment in myself. No one's going to stop you and say, you can't go to that conference because you're just an EA.
Right.
But they will see your face and be like, why is that EA always at a conference? What makes her special? I need to talk to her. There's something about her.
Right. Can you share, you met the president of our division, right? Mark at CES. Is any like fun stories you want to share?
Yeah, actually, Mark's encounter with me was very quick. He was at the Possible Cabana, but I've had to work with Mark in the past with situations and other roles that I've had at NBC. So he knows my face from familiarity. So our encounter was more like, hey, I'm also here. And Mark was like, oh, wow, so nice to see you. And he was so welcoming, which is nice because obviously he sees my face back at NBC in the hallways, but then seeing me be at these events, to me, you could look at it both ways. You could be like, oh, Mark's going to be like, why is Anna here? Or Mark's going to be like, wow, Anna's supporting NBC. Love that she's here. Want to know what interested her to fly out here, right? So again, it's all based on what's up in your mind and how you perceive things and how you shift that mindset, because everyone is trying to do the same thing. Everyone's trying to make it and be somebody. I don't think anyone would judge you for showing up at a conference. If anything, they're going to be impressed by you for being there.
Absolutely. That's what I felt. And speaking about you becoming an EA, like in a lot of people's perceptions, maybe at first it's saying, okay, executive assistant is responsible for maybe like arranging meetings, like supporting the executives, right? But have you encountered judgment or doubts? And how do you perceive those things?
So I haven't really encountered judgment or doubts because I just don't seek approval while making these decisions. I think this comes from playing sports my whole life. You have to work on yourself. Your competition is yourself. So when I make these decisions, I'm not looking to see, hey, what are they going to think about me? What's their perception of me? If you work closely with me, you know what I bring to the table. And that's what matters to me, is who do I report into and do they know what I can bring to the table, right? And then motherhood also has like a way of humbling you and sharpening where your focus is to what truly matters. So I judge myself, yes. I've questioned myself if taking a step back was the right move, especially when my ego reminds me, you've worked so hard, you have so many skills beyond an EA. But at the end, I think it all comes down to choosing between 2 cards. One's your ego and one's being present for your family. And I will always choose my family and the flexibility that it brings. And tomorrow's another day. Today I'm an EA, and again, I could be somewhere else in a year.
Right.
So why stress being that today and just not enjoy coming back into a workplace nicely and building from there?
Wow. That is so inspiring.
Thank you.
Because I joined the team back in January, I can already feel the care, the love, the space you created. And that is not a small thing. And that is not so common in today's workplace. So you are really appreciated. And I need to learn from you more than mindset that yes, our own competition is ourselves. Everybody's value systems are different and their choices are different. There's it's just nothing to compare, right? Because your priorities are so different. So I'll keep that in mind. Do not compare, and even do not let other people's judgment even come to you. because, well, they don't matter.
It doesn't. And how you make people feel. So there's a judgment that you should turn off, but then there's a piece you should turn on, which is how you make people feel. And when I left NBC, I always had a feeling that I would be back because I can tell you millions of people who leave NBC and come back. So what I did on my last day was I actually left some of the people that I work closest with or that helped me. I left them little tokens on their desks with the little notes saying like, thank you for A, B, and C. And I made it very personable. Coming back, a lot of those people are still at NBC. So I'll walk through someone's desk and I'll see my token. And it means a lot. And some people have actually brought it up to me. They're like, oh, did you see I still have your token? And I think that goes a long way and it speaks volumes because now coming back, I'm in a different umbrella, I would say, of what I was before. I was on the ops team. When I was supporting that ops team, there were 400 people on that team.
Wow.
Guess what? I try to learn every one of those people's names and something about them. I would do onboarding with my team purposely to see their face the first day and try to get like a fun fact about them. So to this day, I still speak with that team. When they see me in the hall, like I cannot go get coffee at work because I get stopped every 2 seconds from someone that I know. And I try to be personable and carry that through because that connection will then land you something long term. So this new role that I'm in, the SVP worked with me in the past from a distance, but he knew of me. He knew the work that I brought. So when he found out that I was a free agent, he reached out and was like, I have an opportunity. Would you come back and be my EA? And you know what? It all came down to how he made me feel. He was a great SVP. He always looked after his people, still does. I knew that if I had to tell him that I had to leave for a doctor's appointment, he wasn't going to question it. If I had to tell him I had to be in 5 minutes later because my son threw a tantrum, he wasn't going to question it. And that's the type of people that I want to build and be under. So again, making that personal connection goes so long.
Right. There's so many things beyond a job or title. Is this the environment you want to be in? Is a vibe good for our emotions, our like mental health? And I wonder, what does success mean to you? As like you've mentioned a lot of things, but in summary, right? What success mean to you at right now for Anna?
The success, it comes in so many different waves because it depends what part of my life you're asking. What's success? Success in a career is feeling happy at work, but also having purpose behind the work that you're doing. I feel like if I don't have a goal, KPI, something that I'm working towards, it's not really success. And I'm such a numbers person, so I have to look at the numbers and it needs to make sense, which is ironic because with an EA, how do you measure success? Is it based on how many calendar invites she puts on? So I think with my current role, my success is, again, creating that culture on the team that everyone feels welcomed and doing the little coffee chats where executives could speak to people who are looking to be leaders and give them advice.
I love the coffee chat with the VPs. Oh, I love them.
Yeah, so that goes a long way, and it's just getting coffee. But then success at home has a whole different perspective, right? And success at home is, am I showing up for my family? Success at home is, am I making sure everyone's heard? Am I making sure feelings are being seen? Am I cleaning up? Our lunch is ready? So success can have so many meanings in so many ways, but I think just being uniquely and authentically you will lead you to the best success you can be.
Well, I love that. Yeah, and in a product org, I see it more. We're dealing with people. We're dealing with customer needs, and we need that care to really know what they're seeking, either in our services or in our products. Without that deep connection with customers or our colleagues, you can only go that far.
Yeah, I agree. And Coming out of COVID, it's funny. People will say like there was no personal connection for a few years. Some social skills have been missed through all of that. But I think that's a lie. I think there was a connection. I just think we had to find and be creative on how we connected. So I was an EA during COVID and we did game nights. And that just meant everyone got on the screen and we played this game called Quiplash, which was actually really funny. But that's how we stayed connected. And I'm such a hugger, so I love in-person connection because I love actually feeling connected in a space, and I get the energy of people when I'm in person, but it doesn't mean it stops there. Then
Right.
LinkedIn is a connector. You have to have a really good sense of your LinkedIn profile and be really good at following up to continue those conversations, because they go past the real life experiences. Then they go towards emails, making sure that you're catching up every once in a while. So yes, I think it's very important to keep that network and keep those connections live.
Yeah, the other day I was checking your LinkedIn profile as I prepare for this interview, and I noticed your comeback post has like so many comments and likes, and even like CEOs, SVPs commented. I was like, wow, this girl
Yeah, and
is
it goes back
amazing.
to they remember my name and how I made them feel, right?
Right. So, like how you make people feel. I think maybe that's one takeaway I want the listeners and myself to take away from. And again, to the working moms or I define working mom as if you care for your family or working for a family. If you have a full-time job or part-time job, you're working for someone else, right? And we're all working moms. And for this category, who may doubt their worth, or even question, should I go back to workforce? Or am I worse for the space? What advice do you have for them?
Oof. It's hard because going back to what you said, there's no playbook. We're all so different. So I think for working moms looking to figure out what they want to do, who they want to be, it all comes down to what kind of mom do you want to be? You can be so many types of moms, and none of them are wrong or right, by the way. Like, I think that's what makes kids so special, is they're raised so differently, but they're so innocent in the way that values still are there. And you see that in children, where it's like the values of just being a child and just being innocent is there. And then obviously the culture starts to play a part. And I think culture actually also plays a very big part on what women think they need to do or have to do, right? So I come from a Portuguese background. I can't tell you how many times my mom and I have gone back and forth about what are my responsibilities and what are my husband's responsibilities. And sometimes I'm like, I can't understand what she acknowledges as her responsibilities, because I'm like, why is he not washing the dishes? If
Right.
I'm feeding the baby, he needs to wash the dishes. It doesn't say woman on the dish. It doesn't say handled by a woman, or there's no instructions that say it has to be me.
Yeah.
So I think that plays a really big part on like what kind of wife, what kind of mother am I? And I give so much credit to women who are doing it on their own. We have a colleague at NBC that I speak with so often. We were actually talking yesterday, and she said, I want to get back and I want to climb the ladder, but I can't find a daycare that will take my child Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday without me having to pay Friday and Monday for it. With all of this being said, I'm also very involved in women's groups because I want to change that. Like, if I could go build a daycare tomorrow that only takes kids Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, I would, because women should be given that chance to show up the days they need to show up, but also
Right.
be a mom when they need to be a mom. So
Mm.
I think we all still have a very long way to go. I do think there's been women who have paved the way, and I'm forever grateful for that. There was someone I met with at Possible who's a single mother herself. She lost her husband in the middle of taking on like a big SVP role. And I just admire her. And I told her, I was like, you know, you're paving the way for the next generation of women, which is me. And she was like, I hope so, because all this hard work, I don't want it to go to waste. I really hope that what I'm doing is making a difference. And she's gone through things. She was telling me things in her career where I was surprised. I was like, men would never do that to me. She's like, oh, it existed 20 years ago. And I can't picture that because men are actually my allies right now in the workplace. So it's a very long-winded way of saying each mom knows what she brings and how she wants to bring it. And I just hope women find the courage to bring their authentic self to the workplace, be loud, show up, and not be scared and not get in their own heads, because men don't do it. Men show up and they don't get in their own heads. So why do we?
Yeah, men are our allies, because I had amazing male bosses, and some of which were not parents, and now they are, and they become to appreciate how much work is behind.
Yep.
So I think it's up to us to build our supporting system, to build our village, and show up. Yes, that presence, that this person you met, and like you're talking to my audiences, and this presence means a lot. This means a possibility is there if we put our mind and intention to make that happen.
Yeah, and it is. It's definitely there, and the people you surround yourself with will get you to that next step for sure. The boss that I actually had, and I think this is where the universe works in mysterious ways. The boss I had going into this manager position was a father himself, had 3 kids. And I remember asking him to take some time off to do my baby moon. And he said, I want you to fully disconnect because you're never going to have time alone with your husband on vacation ever again.
Right.
And he just got it. And it was like, I didn't think about that. I just wanted a baby moon. I didn't really care that it was my last time with my husband. But after he said that, I was like, oh, it is. We're never going to take vacation just the 2 of us. And granted, we're going to take vacation just the 2 of us. Grandma could watch the baby. Grandpa could watch the baby. But
it's different. You're always thinking about your baby.
Exactly. So
you talk about your baby.
Exactly. So when he said that, I was like, huh, I would have never thought of that. So I'm glad I had someone who's been through it and understands to give me that advice. So I definitely do go towards people who are understanding. And then when there's the people that just don't understand, not that it angers me, I just don't want to be associated to them because I don't think, and look, I used to be one of them. I used to be like, I don't want to be a mom, so I didn't understand moms. That ignorance that I had in my mind is just today, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I was like that. Because
Same.
it takes so much. And guess what? My friends had babies and I never asked them how they were doing. And now when I know someone's pregnant, I'm the annoying person who asks like every day, how are you doing? Because it goes such a long way to ask someone how they're doing when they're pregnant. And I didn't value that before.
But I think until you experienced all that motherhood, we wouldn't understand. So
yeah, I agree.
So I emphasized my past colleagues and I emphasize my past me, but I also, like, when I show up in work, I try to be authentic and tell my colleagues what I'm going through.
Yeah. And I think that's also cultural, because in Portugal and Europe, I feel like everyone's so open and they'll be very big on like just telling you what's the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then in America, I feel like there's a little bit more of secrecy, or I don't know if secrecy is the right word, but you're tiptoeing around conversations and you're trying not to say the wrong thing because it could be blown out of proportion or it might not be interpreted the right way. But Europeans just don't care. They're like, guess what? The sky is blue. And that's what it is. And while
we need that,
we're like, the sky's blue today, but tomorrow it might be like a little on the pink side because of the sunset. I don't know. There's a very big different cultural shift in my opinion. And that plays a big role in this too.
Yeah, we need more chillness.
I
Like, who
agree.
cares? Like, tomorrow is
Yeah.
another day kind of vibe.
Exactly. Is the job getting done and is it getting done well? Yes. Okay. Then if that's the case, why are we stressing?
Right.
Why is there so much pressure behind certain things?
Exactly. I truly enjoy the conversation with you, Anna. And now we're coming to almost the end, but we'll have a rapid fire round.
Oof.
So I have about like 4 to 5 questions, and you have to just answer it immediately.
Okay.
Cool. First one. If your son could describe what you do in 5 words, what do you think he'd say?
Oh, that's hard. I work on TV. I do commercials.
5 words. You have 3 more.
I do commercial. Yeah, you're right. I do commercials for a big company in New York.
Okay. That's pretty good.
But if he could talk in a few years, and I've asked my godchild what she thinks I do, and she says I work for a big TV company in New York.
Cool. And what is something people assume about your job and they're totally wrong?
So people think I'm on TV on commercials, which is totally wrong. Whenever I say I work in ad sales and then I say ad tech doesn't really, unless you're in ad tech, no one knows what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I just go to like, I help with the commercials. So people think, then they go to like, oh, you work on commercials. No,
Okay.
I'm in the back.
What's a boundary you've set at work that changed your life?
I think knowing to clock out at 5 p.m. My first round at NBC, I worked till 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Now I'm disconnected at 5. I'm sorry, don't call me unless you're my boss. I don't want to deal with it.
But do you still get work done?
I do. Yes, absolutely. And that's why I
Right.
try to put that boundary of like, I'm going to get it done, but you need to contact me before 5 p.m. sort of thing.
Amazing. You dealt with people of all levels all day. Any undervalued traits that you wish to see more in leaders?
I think humbleness.
Humbleness?
I think there are some leaders that I've dealt with that have been my peers that climbing the ladder has gotten a little bit to their head. And it's like, I'm very happy for people who are able to get to that step, but also remember where you came from and don't treat others like they're lower or less. Always treat others like they're your peers still. And we are. We're all still peers no matter what our titles are.
Right. What about Cairns? Do you plan to go next year? And maybe you can organize a trip and I can tag along.
So I would love to go this year, putting it out to the universe in case anyone wants to sponsor me out there.
This year, Cairns, Anna.
But yes, I do plan to go next year, whether it's on with the role that I'm in or on my own. And you will be invited, absolutely. Advanced Women, that group that I've been working closely with, the 3 co-founders just announced that they might be in Cairns with Advanced Women doing things out there. So I would love to go this year, but we'll see what happens. And by the
Sending
way,
signals to the universe. Don't worry about
show up.
titles, who you are, show up. Amazing. Awesome. That's all my rapid fire questions. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you for the wisdom and the experience you share. And we'll see each other in the hallway next week.
Thank you, Bonnie. This is
Thank
so
you.
amazing. And best of luck as you continue to have these conversations and bring forth lights that we need in this world.